The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
You don't think there are monsters in this world? You don't believe people are evil? I'll show you evil.
The death of bin Laden marks the most significant achievement to date in our nation's effort to defeat al-Qaeda. Yet his death does not mark the end of our effort. There is no doubt that al-Qaeda will continue to pursue attacks against us. We must, and we will, remain vigilant at home and abroad.
And to that controversial question, does he believe the president was born in the USA?
Everybody that even gives any hint of being a birther, a word you didn't use, even a little bit of a hint like, gee, you know, maybe, just maybe this much of a chance, they label them as an idiot. Let me tell you, I'm a really smart guy. I was a really good student at the best school in the country. The reason I have a little doubt, just a little, is because he grew up and nobody knew him. When you interview people, if I ever got the nomination, if I ever decide to run, you may go back and interview people from my kindergarten. They'll remember me. Nobody ever comes forward. Nobody knows who he is until later in his life. It's very strange. The whole thing is very strange.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
What about this? You recently said about President Obama, I'm going to quote you, he grew up and nobody knew. Nobody knows who he is until later in his life. The whole thing is very strange. What are you driving at there? Are you a birther, Donald?
Okay, let me just tell you. I was a really good student at the best school. I'm not like a smart guy, okay? They make these birthers into the worst idiots. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? I think he probably...
have to?
Because I have to, and everybody else has to.
I'm sure.
Why wouldn't he show... Excuse me. Why? No, excuse me. I really believe there's a birth certificate. Why, look, she's smiling. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what? I wish he would, because I think it's a terrible pall that's hanging over him. He should show his birth certificate. The other thing, if you go back to my first grade, my kindergarten, people remember me. Nobody from those early years.
That's not true. We have pictures of them. What are you talking about?
Okay, show me a picture.
There are kids in Hawaii. There are people in Hawaii. There are people that he's grown up.
I've seen 14,
no,
but
as
I haven't seen early pictures. But more importantly, why doesn't he... And you know what? I think he probably was, but the word probably would be...
Why did he have to defend himself against...
You know why?
Against an accusation?
Because if you're going to be the president... Because if you're going to be the president of the United States, it says very profoundly that you have to be born in this country.
But did any other president be the president?
Did
George Bush not be the president? The president, why did he want the
Recently, you've spent a lot of time talking about President Obama's birth certificate, or lack thereof. You don't seem convinced that he has one.
No, I'm not convinced that he has one. I've had very smart people say, Donald, stay on the China issue, stay on the Saudi Arabia issue, stay on the India taking our jobs, and the Mexico, which is NAFTA, which cleaned out New England.
Issue.
Get off the birth certificate issue.
Why don't you?
Because you know what? 3 weeks ago when I started, I thought he was probably born in this country, and now I really have a much bigger doubt than I did before.
But based on what?
And you know what? His grandmother in Kenya said he was born in Kenya, and she was there and witnessed the birth, okay? He doesn't have a birth certificate, or he hasn't shown it. He has what's called a certificate of live birth. That is something that's easy to get. When you want a birth certificate, it's very hard to get.
But it's considered the equivalent, and in the
it's not the equivalent.
In the state of Hawaii, they said they have seen this document. It is evidence that he was born in the United States. That's good enough for them. Scholars have looked at it.
A birth certificate is not even close. A certificate of live birth is not even signed by anybody. I saw his. I read it very carefully. Doesn't have a serial number, doesn't have a signature. There's not even a signature.
Do you believe he's lying?
I'm starting to think that he was not born here.
Do you believe he's lying, Donald? Come on, just answer.
He spent $2 million in legal fees trying to get away from this issue. And if he weren't lying, why wouldn't he just solve it? And I wish he would, because if he doesn't, it's one of the greatest scams in the history of politics and in the history period. You are not allowed to be a president if you're not born in this country. He may not have been born in this country. And I'll tell you what, 3 weeks ago I thought he was born in this country. Right now I have some real doubts. I have people that actually have been studying it and they cannot believe what they're finding.
You have people now down there searching, I mean, in Hawaii?
Absolutely, and they cannot believe what they're finding. I would like to have him show his birth certificate. And can I be honest with you? I hope he can. Because if he can't, and if he wasn't born in this country, which is a real possibility, I'm not saying it happened, I'm saying it's a real possibility, much greater than I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago, then he has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics. And beyond politics.
Before you came today, you had a press conference.
I did.
By the time this airs, it will be all over the world that you outed the birth certificate. You let us see the birth certificate.
He was born here.
Yes, and that it's confirmed again that you are born
once again
in the United States. Why did you wait so long, though?
You know, keep in mind what had happened. This came up about two and a half years ago. And so we called up the folks in Hawaii and the Department of Health.
When it first came up, were you thinking, I hope I was born here? What were you?
Can I just say I was there, so I knew that I knew I'd been born there. I remembered it.
The state of Hawaii says it can't release a paper copy of the president's original birth certificate because they say the state government discarded the original document when the health department records went electronic some 8 years ago. They say the state government discarded the original document. They say the state government discarded the original document. That explanation, however, has not satisfied some critics.
And so at that point I said to my team, look, even though this is not usually what the state of Hawaii does, even though the Republican governor of Hawaii, the Democratic governors of Hawaii, all the various officials had confirmed they will go ahead and provide provide us with the original to see if we can put this to rest.
Meanwhile, the state of Hawaii says it can't release a paper copy of the president's original birth certificate because they say the state government discarded the original document when the health department records went electronic some 8 years ago.
We provided additional information today about the site of my birth. Now, this issue has been going on for 2.5 years now. I think it started during the campaign.
My friends, it is the 27th of April, 2011, and as the headline reads, the newest Obama birth certificate that's been released by the White House has been altered in literally dozens of ways, and it's been altered in ways that are so obvious that it makes the head spin. This had to have been done on purpose to accelerate this debate. The White House obviously wants to make everything about the birth certificate and was he really from Hawaii or Kenya, instead of his record of more wars, torture, bailing out banks, signing statements, and lobbyists. There's no way they are this stupid. If they are this hubris-filled and arrogant and crazy and have put out the document that we're about to show you, then we're in even more trouble. In a way, I hope that this is some type of sick ploy. Because if they are crazy enough to put this out, knowing that there are millions of people that are Photoshop experts, including people who have degrees in it, like my sister who has a degree in photography, and 2 people we have on staff that are Photoshop experts. They've all looked at it. It is mind-blowing. That's only the tip of the iceberg. That's what got the Photoshop community's attention online. There are thousands of sites right now going crazy, mainline ones saying this is obviously fake. On purpose. This is a horrible fake forgery on purpose. Understand, someone who has no understanding of how to research forgeries would see this immediately. Right now we're reeling from this, but Rob Dew is the only one of 3 Photoshop people we've got on staff that wants to be on camera.
Whitehouse.gov. So we're going to click on that. Here's what everybody's been looking at today. Here's the document. We're going to save this into a folder called birth right here. Nothing in here. In here it says birth certificate long. We're going to save it.
And by the way, I was hoping that this was real today, and we didn't even start looking at it. I'm sick of this issue. People ask me to cover it and look at it. We know they've been covering up his records. They've spent millions of dollars blocking lawsuits about this. Why didn't they just release it? If we go back 2.5 years ago, they released the receipt of the live birth, not the birth certificate, and told everybody this was it, and it was a birth certificate, and no long form existed, and you were a conspiracy theorist if you said something else existed. Now they've released this, so remember that lie. And then Rob and others in the office, all the Photoshop people, all the video editors, including folks with degrees from universities in this, came to me and they said, my God, this is totally fake. Then they went and checked the big Photoshop sites, as I said, and they're all saying this is fake. But it's so fake that it boggles the mind. I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, Rob,
it's crazy.
It would take 10 hours to go over everything. I mean, the letters don't match. The layers of the signatures go over the green background. Again, it's like they wanted to be caught. This is 100% altered in so many ways it'll make your head spin. I'm sorry, go over it.
All right. Now, if you have a copy of Adobe Illustrator, you open that up. So now we're in Illustrator. You can see up at the top here. We're going to open this really quickly. Here we are in Illustrator, and you can see already that there's little layers, but you can't, it moves everything at one layer, okay? So there, I'm going to go back, put it back here. Now watch this. I'm going to click onto it, right-click to release clipping mask. This is what everybody's been doing. So now everything has been all the layers have been broken apart. So we'll just grab this layer real quick, and we're going to cut it.
And this is like in a Photoshop file. You can see what was moved before and what they altered, and you can see that these things were cut in here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So here we are. I'm going to cut this layer. Boom. And now we're going to add it to a different layer on top of that other layer. And now you can see this is a completely different layer, and there's even a missing number on this when you bring this back in. Let me bring that back up.
So there's a ghost. There's a ghost.
Yeah, so this one was here originally, but then they added these numbers, it looks like. Watch the signature here. Part of the signature's there and part of it's not. They add something down here to Ukulele, who's supposed to be the local registrar. They add the numbers 1 here, and over here there's a 3 and a 1 added. You can just see by turning it on and off. You know, there's different letters all over this that have been added into it. So there's
I'm a layman, but for years watching people in the office working Photoshop, myself learning how to use it, they didn't flatten it.
Exactly.
They left it in the layers. But what's crazier is you could say, well, that was just a mistake or some computer glitch. The numbers they've added don't even match or look the same when you blow them up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane. They're modern computer numbers, not some 1960s typewriter.
Yeah, you could easily see that.
I'm going to be honest, folks. This is beyond me. Because I've had 3 different Photoshop experts in my office look at this. I go to big mainline, non-political Photoshop sites. They're freaking out over this. And this is not just the fact that it's in layers and been altered. It's all fake, and the numbers don't even match, and all the stuff's been added. Our government is insane. I mean, what is this? What is the point?
It looks like a joke to me. This is definitely a joke. I mean, I can't
A joke
believe...
on us. So the elite have gone completely insane. It's like Marie Antoinette saying, let them eat cake because they're starving to death before the French Revolution.
Right.
Or Nero burning Rome for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the CIA admittedly can create fake videos, fake newscasts. They can shoot video of anybody they want, and then off just a few seconds of it, put it into a computer template, synthesize the voice, and make a perfect copy that top experts can't
The question
decipher.
is,
why can't they make a fake
Why wouldn't they do a better job?
Even if it's fake.
Yeah. I mean, who dropped the ball on this, or was it done on purpose?
There's no way you could drop the ball. This is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Looking at this, there's so many different anomalies. What are some of the most important? Summing this up.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that you've got several layers that you can move around and manipulate, and that you can cut apart from the document that they put out of. That's, to me, the biggest red flag that I would throw out there. And it's pretty scary that they would throw this out thinking that nobody would take a look at it.
If it was Colonel Gaddafi. Senior Capitol Hill producer Chad Pergram confirms Osama bin Laden is dead. Senior Capitol Hill producer Chad Pergram confirms Osama bin Laden is dead. Can it be, ladies and gentlemen? Could it be? This Chad is one of the best in the business. He really is an extraordinary person. Hold it. Bin Laden is dead. Bin Laden is dead. Confirmed, urgent confirmed. Bin Laden is dead. Multiple sources. Osama bin Laden is dead. Happy days. Happy days, everybody. Yeah. This is the greatest. Give me a wide shot of the general. This is the greatest night of my career. The bum is dead. The savage who hurt us so grievously. And I am so blessed, I'm so privileged to be at this desk at this moment.
And the cold truth is that there hasn't been a single verifiable sighting of bin Laden since December 2001. President Obama's policy review of Afghanistan and Pakistan was chaired by former CIA officer Bruce Rydell, and he's seen the intelligence on bin Laden.
It's not cold. It's frozen over. There is no trail anymore. We haven't had eyes on this target now in over 8 years.